All right, so let's start UVing. At this point, I'm just going to push this document aside to my other monitor. If you're working on one monitor, maybe you can open up this document on your phones, or if you're able to print it out, maybe just print out that document and have it handy. And we're just going to start going through those steps together. All right, so first, let's just create our desired layout. And actually, yeah, before we do anything, maybe we should just bring up the UV editor and UV toolkit. That's the first line of that document. So I should be in the modeling menu set. I'm there, and then I go to UV and then UV editor. I will click on that, and this window is going to pop up. I have the UV editor and the UV toolkit. If these two are separated for you, that's fine. We're going to change this anyway. So let's just create our desired layout. And I highly encourage you to do that, especially if you're working on one monitor. So we're just going to drag this UV toolkit to the, so that it is a tab like channel box and everything down there. And then what I'm going to do is that I want to make sure that I am on my perspective view so that I only have one viewport. And I'm going to make this small. This part is tricky because sometimes it just doesn't want to snap. But I'm going to make it small and then try to snap it here. Okay, I'm being very lucky. It wants to do that. Okay, nice. Yay, right? So this is my like layout that I would like to work with when I am doing UVs. What you can do is that you can actually save this workspace. Save current workspace as Maya Classic. Maybe I'm just going to call this string UV. Okay, just call it UV so that you can remember it better. Okay, all right. So now we are in the UV workspace. Whenever you want to switch back to your, what was the other one we created? My Classic Modified, UVs, these are the two workspaces that I created. I can switch between these two. Nice and sweet, just like that, okay? All right, so the layout is created. What is the next step? I'm looking at my document. It says in the UV editor panel, turn on the texture borders. It's this one. If I hold my mouse over it, you're going to see that. The other one that I need to check on is the checker map. That's very important. So this is how we check to see if our layouts are working correctly. And you see that as soon as you click on this, any object that you click on, you're going to be able to see like that checker pattern on those objects. And for example, you can see what are the default UVs for the selected objects. These two are just basic geometries, and these two are the geometries that I modified, but I didn't touch the UVs. So cube is one of the few geometries that comes with a very decent UV. If you turn on this checker map, you can see that. How do we know it's a decent UV? Well, because um, you see this pattern here. It is supposed to be squares and it should be straight. The same thing is happening here. Okay, let's see. How about this one? This is our cylinder, and you can see that with the cylinder, we get a decent pattern for the top and the bottom. The texture shows up correctly. But how about the sides? Well, the checker pattern is all the way skewed, and they look like rectangles. Although they are straight, they're not correct UVs. Okay, what does it mean if we apply a texture to this? It means that our texture, for example, if you draw something in Photoshop and then you apply this um, as a texture to this geometry, the same way that you applied the face texture, for example, to the face of the soldier. If you apply that JPEG image or PNG, whatever texture image to this object, you're going to see that the texture is going to look skewed on the sides, and that's not correct. Okay. How about these two? Well, these two are going to be crazy nasty. You can see that the UVs for both, like this object is similar to this one, because it's not being touched, but I modified and 3D modeled, so now it's all over the place. Like, what is this? Like, it's crazy. Okay, I need to probably just start the UV process for this from scratch. And that's for the card. You can see that it's kind of being created from a cube because the UVs are the default UVs that you would see for a cube. And then if you can see that the texture is crazy. Maybe the only correct part is this part. And if I go to my face mode, you can see that face, okay, these two are the only two that are working. So I need to just work heavily on these two. All right. So let's just pause the video here. You make sure that you have all the setups correctly. Um, and then in the next video, we're going to start creating UVs for the basic geometries.